Now, okay, here we go. This is going to be episode. Where are we? What episode is this, Darren? This is going to be episode 468.
468. Yeah, so I was going to say
8.
The only one I remembered was 464.
You're only 4 behind.
I'm only 4 behind.
Okay, so what you just mentioned, is that something you don't want to go out over live? It's okay if you don't. But I do have a comment about it.
Oh, carry on.
So today I'm wearing what's called my apple tree shirt. So
that is rather fantastic. Oh, look at that. Oh, there's the classic one, right? Well, not classic, but the Power
Mac. Yeah.
Power Mac right in the middle. There you go.
Right in the middle. Yeah. With the mirrored front even. iPods. It's got the G4 lampshade iMac. I mean, it's kind of an old shirt, but I don't wear it much. I only wear it for special occasions. And with all the talk about Apple's 50th anniversary this past week, and then with the actual anniversary coming up on April 1st, for which I just heard that Apple is surprisingly, actually going to do something for it. They're going to do some sort of celebration for it, I read.
Ooh. 50 years doesn't happen every day. So yeah, absolutely. Roll out a celebration. Apple,
very un-Apple-like for them to actually do a celebration. And hey, Brian, nice to see you. And thank you. Awesome shirt, he says. Brian was with me yesterday. As a matter of fact, we did a live stream for Macstock, and with March updates and what have you, and I wore my Apple Park shirt for that. And I was mentioning the Computer History Museum's 50th anniversary roundtable that they did live this week, which was really fantastic, that they could bring back some of the names from Apple's past, like John Scully, and interview them on stage about their time at Apple. And of course, the interview was hosted by David Pogue, who just released that Apple at 50 book, right?
I was going to mention.
And then
I'm thinking of, I will be buying that as an audiobook.
As an audiobook.
He was describing on a rival podcast, shall we say. I'm sure David would love to come on our show.
Sure.
I'm sure, yeah. He was describing the creation of the audiobook as well, and it's quite a lot of work to speak out your 600 pages as an audiobook. I should imagine that's a lot to cope with.
So is he going to read it? Is Poe going to read it himself?
Oh, yes. Yes, he's reading it himself, indeed, yes.
Wow. You know, he said that the inspiration for the book was actually his wife. He was working on a different book about space or something. I don't know what his other book was about.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And
his wife suggested he did this subject instead.
Yep.
And then when he put it past his publisher, his publisher said, "Absolutely, drop that space thing, and go straight."
No space stuff for us.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned the other thing that Computer History Museum did in the last week, which I am personally. Now, I mentioned yesterday I was really looking forward to seeing this, and I have not seen it yet. We're just a day later. Is the walking tour. The walking tour in Cupertino, where they go to old locations of Apple's headquarters, the Lisa team's building, the Mac team's building, things like that. So it's short. It's like 10, 11 minutes. It's not a very long video.
That's good to me.
But again, it's at Computer History Museum's channel right here on YouTube. So, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll definitely watch that.
And
I'm sure the link will be in the show notes, probably.
I will absolutely put a link in the show notes.
Fabulous.
And I did get a text from Eric just now. He is not going to pop in.
I think it's because we're not famous enough. We'll have to get Jeff Gamet back on, and then Derek will be sure to join us.
Oh, what I heard you say is we're not famous enough for Eric to join us.
That's right.
And, yeah. Okay. This is actually he sent along a comment, his 2 cents. So I'm going to take this and put it into the second section of our discussion here because it ties in very nicely with some comments that I have. So let me put that in there. Okay. And, Eric also says something that we talked about about a half hour ago, or an hour ago. He said, hopefully, Darren doesn't get bit with daylight savings time. I had that happen too late now. I had that happen to a guy in England I work with this past week. So, yeah. Now, you do spring ahead at some point, right?
Yes, although I'm pretty terrible, like most UKers, we tend to rely on technology to tell us when and where, or the news. So if you're not watching the news on a particular day, and you don't find out when it's happening, then you can be very confused. But yeah, I rely on my technology to tell me. If I didn't have my calendars and Apple to tell me what's happening, then I'd be very confused.
Well, then I would be very confused perpetually in the UK because I don't watch a lot of news these days. I read a fair amount of news, but I don't watch the news so much anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it can be a bit much sometimes. Seeing what's happening in the world, it can be a bit overstimulating, shall we say? Exactly.
And then one other comment before we get started here. I did not notice this yesterday at all, but I'm picking up a hiss in my microphone. I put in my earbuds. I'm like, where is that noise coming from? And it is actually coming somewhere in my microphone setup here. And I tried moving cables around to see if I was getting some interference from a power cable or something like that, but I think I'm going to have to just replace my cable. So,
oh, right, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, is it an electrical hiss or is it an audible hiss?
Well, yes.
Yes.
I believe
one of those.
I believe there's either some interference injecting itself into the cable here somewhere. Maybe there's a shielding issue, or
yes.
Or the cable's just gone bad, which they do. So I'll try replacing the cable. I didn't notice it yesterday, though, so I don't know what the heck.
Yeah, I hate it when technology does that. It works beautifully for months, and then one day something happens that unexpectedly, and you have no idea where it came from.
Yeah. It is minor. Now, Brian did leave a comment. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you mentioning that. He says, from this end, no hiss. So that's good. It is minor. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you put in the earbuds and you're like, where is that coming from? Because you're used to,
yes.
When you put these in, these are wired earbuds. When you put these in, it goes silent except what's coming in through the microphone. And yes. what I noticed is I can mute the microphone, hiss goes away. I can pull down the levels on the mixer, sound goes away. I can turn up the levels, the sound is back. So there's some sort of noise being introduced here in my setup.
Maybe only you can hear it, and it's not in the recording.
Yes, maybe like a dog whistle, only I can hear it.
Could be.
You never know. You never know. Weirder things have happened to me. All right. So yes, I don't think Eric is watching this live. If he is watching it live, thank you, Eric, because your comments are perfect. They're perfect to add into the second talking point that we have here. We have three talking points.
Excellent.
Which I sent you
Nice.
beforehand.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Oh, essential app. Did you come up with an essential app?
Yes, I kind of do have an essential app, almost nearly. I know, shock horror. You'll have to go and have a little lie down after this to recover.
I will. My gosh.
Absolutely. Woo. Yeah, but this essential app is for the iPhone. That sort of counts, doesn't it? Sure, it doesn't have to be a Mac essential app.
It doesn't.
An iPhone essential app.
Hey, I picked a book as an essential app a number of episodes ago. So
perfect.
Yeah, you can pick that. Now, is there a companion Mac app?
Not in this particular case, I don't think, because it lends itself to being mobile, and it's also works on the iPad as well. So it's an iOS side of things rather than sitting in front of your Mac side of things. It's something to use whilst you are away from your computer.
Okay, all right. Oh, and one last comment before we get started. My voice is a little rough. I've been dealing with a minor cold the last few days. So a little deeper. It's a little deeper.
Oh, that's very impressive.
A little deeper and rougher. It's very Harrison Fordy. So.
Oh, yes, that does. Yeah, that works. You just have to say, "Hey, kid."
Hey, kid. You watch Shrinking?
There you go.
Do you watch Shrinking? Shrinking
yes,
is
I do watch
great.
Shrinking. I love it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, Harrison Ford is fantastic in anything he's in.
Well,
it doesn't matter what he's in. I mean, I just like him in everything.
Yeah, fair point. Okay. Okay. Here's a good question. And for this question, I'm going to put up the new. Nope, that's old. There we go.
Oh, excellent.
Very possibly, Brian.
You might have a passenger, indeed.
So I actually updated this scene just this morning. So on our social media scene, one of the things that you noticed was that I had a very nice liquid glassy appearance to it. In other words, it's got a slight zoom effect to it.
Over the top of the TV logo in the corner, you can see it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, I updated this scene to do the same thing.
Excellent. So well, there you go. Consistency. Perfect.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
Well, and of course, we know how well you like to embrace liquid glass. So there we go.
It's by far my favorite. If only they had made the MacBook Neo also a glass device.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to comment on that because I was on Dave Ginsburg's show In Touch with iOS and had a little minor rant about the MacBook Neo. And, I just wanted to clarify. I just wanted to clarify that, and I did ask a couple folks, one who was sitting in on it and one who listened to it. I said, no, it was pretty clear. A lot of what I said was tongue in cheek, right? I mean, there was a lot of.
I believe you.
Yeah. So it was a lot of tongue in cheek, a lot of just joshing around.
Did you have a mini rant?
and a mini rant because, as I said to Dave, I thanked him for having me on and ask me that question about the MacBook Neo because I've adopted that policy this year of not talking about new Apple products for now. So his show gave me the platform to have a little mini rant about the MacBook Neo. See?
Okie dokie.
So there you go. But it was very tongue-in-cheek, a lot of fun. In fact, I even said at one point, I think during it, I said, I love to do this. Well, That what I meant was just kind of joke around and poke people and see if I can get some fun
Cool.
responses out of them, and that's what I hope to
Excellent.
do with it. So
Did it work?
I don't know. So cheers, cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Yeah. No, I really do think that for a good portion, well, one, for the education market, fantastic computer for the education market, absolutely hands down. And then in the example that many folks in the panel on Dave's show gave, it's a fantastic, I hate to use this term because it's a incredibly well-built computer, but it's a fantastic throwaway computer. It's one that you can bring with you to places where you really don't want to bring your $3,000 MacBook Pro, but a $600 MacBook Neo is perfect.
Yeah.
If something happens to it, if it gets stolen, if it gets crushed by a rampaging elephant, it doesn't matter.
Yes, those pesky elephants might come back at any moment.
Pesky elephants come back. It's a fantastic
Yeah,
supplementary
I'm impressed.
or auxiliary computer.
And quite a lot of other people who have are starting to post reviews have also been mightily impressed. And with many people who weren't expecting that much, are surprised when they test it and it comes out as above their expectations. So that's a good indicator. I think it's going to be exceptionally popular.
Yeah. Marty Gencius of the Pod Talk Network, and I just say Pod Talk Network because he's got conservatively a bazillion podcasts. But like Jeff, our guest, last episode, bazillion podcasts.
At last count, give or take a few thousand, yeah.
Yeah, he was mentioning, he mentioned to me yesterday that he did a benchmark on it of converting a 4K video or down converting a 4K video to a 1080 video using Final Cut, not even using Handbrake or something like that, using Final Cut. And
Perhaps.
I can't remember what the length of the video was. He mentioned, I can't remember what the length was, but it was, it wasn't insignificant. But the Neo, and he has two. He picked up two Neos.
Well,
anyway,
you've got to have one for each color. You've got to have four, haven't you?
He did get citrus. I love citrus. I think citrus is an amazing color.
It's amazing that's how popular that is. Oh, there you go. Product red. That's what
I want a citrus phone. I want a citrus phone.
Oh, I see. Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? Anyway, he down converted a 4K video to 1080 in like 90 seconds, a minute and a half, I think he said.
Yeah.
So
and it's probably only about 10 seconds behind, or if that, the big machines. So, if you can wait an extra few seconds, then, I think that, the thing that people were bemoaning, I think, initially, before they got their hands on the machine, was the lack of RAM and of the fact that obviously it comes in one SKU and it's not expandable. But I don't think that's a huge issue because, macOS has extremely good memory management. I think all that you notice is maybe a few seconds delay for some big tasks like re-encoding. But all you'll see in Activity Monitor is your memory pressure being mostly yellow rather than mostly green. So that's other than that, the actual user and especially the intended audience won't notice.
No, I don't think so. And we had that discussion on this show when the M1 MacBook Air came out. And there was the whole debate
is 8 gigs enough? Yeah, exactly.
Is 8 gigs enough? We had a whole episode about that. And the conclusion we came to is, 8 gig is enough. And I still think that's true for the average user. It may not be enough for me.
Yeah, I think it's true in this case.
And it's
but
true
for
in this
the other products that are aimed higher at more seasoned users, it wouldn't be enough. So it's still true that 8 gigs is 8 gigs, but the behavior of it, swapping out back and forth, and the memory management is so incredibly quick that most users, I don't think, will barely notice.
Yeah, I don't think most people will notice. Most people who are within the intended market for that computer won't
intended
notice.
Market for that machine, exactly. Yes, they have quite minimal things they want to achieve with a machine. You know, the average thing. Well, I mean, to be honest, like 80% of people that's what they want to do with a computer, and it's only a smaller proportion of people that want to do the really heavy lifting side of things. And they already know what they need.
And, let's talk about an application that we're using right now, Ecamm Live.
Yeah.
I was a guest on one of their shows, and a question came up from their live audience in the chat room about the appropriate Mac to run Ecamm Live on. And
interesting. How low can you go?
I stepped in and I answered that question. I said, it has run on every single Mac I've put it on, Intel, Apple Silicon, MacBook Air, and as soon as I said MacBook Air, I got pushback. I can't remember if the pushback was from Doc or if it was from, I don't remember exactly, but the pushback was, yes, it will technically run on a MacBook Air. In fact, Daniel Chi just did a test of it on the MacBook Neo this last week. The answer is, of course, it will run. It'll run fine, but in a fanless environment, you can, which the MacBook Air is, and the MacBook Neo is.
And the Neo is,
in a fanless environment, it's not ideal because it can really push the hardware hard. And when you push the hardware that hard and you don't provide any active cooling, bad things can happen, right? And those bad things could be as simple as the program crashing. It could be your computer overheating. I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen. I mean, it's not going to melt into a pile of goo or anything, but while it will run and you can do it, it's definitely not a recommended platform. And I presume, and I've not checked, so I'm speaking out of turn here, but I presume that where they say the MacBook Air is not recommended because it doesn't have active cooling, I imagine that they're going to extend that to the MacBook Neo as well, just because they want to play it safe.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because Ecamm is a real-time app. You're recording from it, and any glitches that wouldn't normally affect, say, if you were loading a very, very large number of megapixels in Pixelmator in several open shots, the fact that it might pause for an extra second or two before it does it isn't too great a problem. But when you're talking about a real-time capture situation, which you're doing
cameras
with Ecamm,
yep,
exactly, then even like a pause, like a 1 or 2 second pause, would definitely stand out. So yeah, that's a special case, I think, that sort of thing, when you're doing some sort of recording like that. It's in a similar way to if you were doing Twitch streams, or if you were doing OBS recording, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And they not being as optimized for the Mac as Ecamm Live is will be an even bigger problem.
Yes. So Ecamm would fare better, I should imagine.
Yeah. In this particular case, we're not pushing it particularly hard. I'm streaming at 720. I'm not even streaming at 1080. I'm streaming at 720. Okay. I've got one camera. That's it. Boom. You've got one camera. That's it. We are using Zoom as the conduit to bring us together, but Zoom is integrated into the app, so it's all kind of running lovely because we're not pushing it very hard. But at MacStock, I had an M2 M2 Pro Mac
Oh
Mini.
yes, you did say you had an M2 that was struggling or something like that. And
Yeah,
I was wondering that myself when you said that, thinking,
yep,
hold on, that's about nearly 3 times faster than my computer. How can that be struggling?
absolutely. And it worked fine until I started to push it just a little, one step further. And we have multiple cameras. I think at the time I had 3 cameras coming into it by way of Elgato cam links. So I had 3 cameras coming into it. I had the audio coming into it, and it did struggle a bit. So I upgraded to M4 Pro Mac Mini, and that took care of that issue. And it has been able to
Yeah.
handle pretty much everything I've thrown at it. I suspect my biggest problem with the M4 Pro Mac Mini is the lack of expansion. The limited number of ports is just
Mm.
the previous Mini had a perfect number of ports, but the new Mac Mini is just a little too restricted in terms of that without getting external expansion for it. So
Yeah.
that's my only
Yeah.
problem with it. But having said that, it can handle it beautifully. So I suspect probably in the next year or so I'll upgrade to M5 Pro or M6 Pro or whatever is current at the time that I get to the next upgrade cycle for that Mac Mini. But right now, that M2 Pro Mac Mini is living a brand new life, still under Apple warranty, still under Apple Care warranty, living a brand new life
Mhm.
as my daughter's primary Mac. And
Yeah.
it's far more powerful than the 2015 iMac that she had before. So she's thrilled with it.
Yeah, Luke Biani was doing or did a video recently showing the rapid rise of processing ability across the M series. That was particularly interesting because you could see that, for instance, when a base M5 comes out, the speed of that would be faster than an M3 Pro or something like that. So the Pro level chips that were quite a bit extra in like 2 versions previous to that are now the base level speed of whatever the new baseline is. So like a baseline M5 would be faster than an M2 or M3 Pro.
But don't say that too loud. I don't want my M3 Pro MacBook Pro to hear you.
Yes. Well, oh, it'd be shocking to be replaced by a base line now machine. Yeah, that's right.
There's still limitations with the base M series processors and
Yeah, I tend to just wait a little bit longer and go for the
go.
base. I always get the base model because by the time I look at the Pro or Max side of the current range, I know that the next one coming out will be pretty close to that performance anyway. But in the base side of things, I tend to stick to the base side.
Yeah,
I think you get a good value for money when you look at the base.
and we talked about that.
Sometimes you need a Pro
Yeah,
and a Max, but then there's significant investment involved, shall we say?
yeah, yeah. Refurbished store.
Oh yes, yes, good old refurbished. You can't beat it.
The release of new Macs is always the best time to purchase
Oh,
from the
fabulous time to
refurbished
buy
store. Yeah.
yeah, buy one model back from the current one on the
Yep.
refurb, and you're golden. You can't beat
Amazingly,
it.
it gets filled up. The refurbished store gets filled up with all these previous generation model
Funny
Macs.
that all these people upgrading. Yeah, yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, it's not from upgraders. It's not from upgraders. It's Apple rewrapping them. I think. I think they're
Okay,
taking
fair
them
enough. Yeah,
and
yeah.
rewrapping them because now they're not selling them as new. I mean, I guess they could shove them off onto like Amazon and third-party sellers and things like. They could do that, and they probably do with a fair amount. But the sudden influx of previous generation Macs in the refurbished store does make me wonder, and I don't know, but it does make me wonder if they don't just say, well, we'll just rewrap this and call it refurbished and be good with it. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
Although in the refurb store, they do also put your brand new batteries in things when they're sold on Refurb. So
if it actually was purchased and returned, yeah. But if it's never left the shelf of the warehouse, you wouldn't need to do that. I wouldn't think.
No, but I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they do that.
It's just tinfoil hat supposition. That's all. I don't know, but it is a good time to buy.
Yeah, if you are in the market for a phone, then going to the Refurb store is particularly good, because not only do you get you not get it's almost like not getting a Refurb unit. Because you've got a new battery in there, and you've got I think they also swap out the screens, and you get a new screen. It's like, well, this is really.
Yeah, they don't swap out the screen. You're right that they do swap out the battery, and then with the old iPods, the colored iPods, and probably the phones as well, I heard that they slip a new shell onto them. So
new shell, new casing if it's needed. Yeah,
may be the case with them. I don't know. But they are essentially new. I mean, if Apple didn't feel comfortable selling you these refurbished models, they wouldn't offer you Apple Care on them.
Yeah. And also the standard warranty you get.
Yeah, the standard warranty. Exactly. They'd say 30 days. You got 30 days.
Effectively treated like a new device. So
exactly.
There you go. Yeah.
The only problem with the phones and refurbished, the only problem with them is they always seem to be 2 generations behind. You can't get the previous generation or current. You definitely can't get the current generation refurbished. But you can.
But at least you can set it up as new, because beware of some stores out there that sell refurbished kit, or so-called refurbished kit, and they're actually previously owned by an owner that didn't wipe the device properly, and you end up not being able to set it up.
They didn't unlock it.
Exactly. Yeah, that happens quite a lot. And you think, oh yeah, you bought it from the wrong place. Don't go there. I wouldn't have gone there to buy it. Too late.
All right, let's get started. We lost our two viewers, so we probably should get started here. I don't know. Well, Brian did say he was going to head out, and I don't know. All right, so here we go. We're ready to go. We don't need to do a rundown of the show or anything. I sent the notes of the 3 major categories, and we'll just kind of riff on that and go. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, all right. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So they say. All right. Here we go. Oop, I got to get to the top of my notes. Let's see if you like my title. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. It's For Mac Guys Only, episode number 468 for March 14th, 2026. AI, a bye-bye. Hey everyone, welcome back to For Mac Guys Only, the show for the Mac community, where we share our thoughts and opinions on current Mac news and events. And joining me to wax philosophic on AI and its place in our lives is Darren Davies. Hi Darren, thanks for joining me today.
Hi there. Well, I've got to be philosophical now. I'll try.
We always do our best to philosophize.
I
think that works.
Yeah, we can make up another word, no worries.
Absolutely. And remember, we normally record For Mac Guys Only live on YouTube the 2nd and 4th Saturday of the month. And if you'd like to come hang out, ask questions, and be part of our live studio audience, be sure to subscribe to the show at youtube.com/FMEO TV. And if you are joining us live here on YouTube, I will be keeping an eye on the chat room right over here to my right. So if you have any questions or comments, drop them in there and we will address them here on the show. Well, Darren, back in January, on our New Year Tech Resolutions episode with Bob Wood, we made brief mention of AI. I don't think we talked about it that much, but we made brief mention of AI and how we use it in our lives. And we got some feedback on that episode from our pal Lisa, who sent along a comment based on an article that she'd read. Her comment was simply, I thought this professional writer captured my thoughts about AI perfectly. The ones that you read out during your recent For Mac is Only episode on the about the New Year's resolutions in tech, and I thought you might enjoy it. And Lisa then sent this article along to all of us so we could take a look at it. And we've each had a chance to read that article now that Lisa sent, and while there are many points that we could discuss in it, it did have several talking points throughout about AI and its place within this author's life. I really picked out three key things that I would like to discuss today from that article. And the first one is unwanted AI integration. This is kind of a big one. AI is being quietly embedded into our everyday tools, whether it's our operating systems or our word processors or email clients, web browsers, what have you. And many times those integrations are being done without our consent. They just show up one day. And the worst part is, in many cases, you don't have any ability to say, I don't want it. I don't want it. Get rid of it. And yet there it is. And it's like Clippy on overload.
Wow.
Microsoft gave us Clippy, which, by the way, I actually changed to one of the other assistants when I used that back in the day. But, Microsoft gave us Clippy, and Clippy was always there in our face. And this kind of feels like the same thing all over again, except with a much broader range of experiences to draw from. So we're not just getting help on how to use Word to the best of our abilities. We're now being told that we should be writing better, that maybe what we wrote isn't what we really wanted to say. So I think this topic, or this point in particular, unwanted AI integration, is primarily where I focused when I replied to Lisa. Because
Right.
to me, minimizing the use of AI, if that's what you care to do, a lot of folks welcome it and they embrace it. But if you want to minimize the use of AI, which the author of the article did, and I mentioned this in an email to you, Darren, it's more about shedding our old habits and our old services and looking towards and adopting new ones that work the way we want to work. One of the keys, of course, if you don't care to have whatever robotic buddy is popping up every few seconds to tell you that they can do better, is to actively avoid apps that do this, that proffer AI to us at every chance that they get. And with that said, it does make you nostalgic for Clippy. So there's that. But I did want to get your thoughts on this, and I'm not sure where you would like to start. I did start in my reply to Lisa. I did start with browsers, but maybe operating systems is the better place to start.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. Yeah,
because we do have Apple Intelligence built into Mac OS now. Microsoft has Copilot built into Windows. And each of these companies, and that's just two examples, by the way, but each of these companies has different ways of approaching the integration of AI. So what has your experience been? What are your thoughts on having it integrated into the OS itself?
well, that's where I think Apple might have a bit of an advantage, because they're taking things extremely cautiously with adopting AI. And of course, when many people see what Apple has both promised and produced, the lack of a chatbot style AI interface is what people see as what's missing. Whereas I tend to not quite see it that way. Apple does integrate, as you were saying, a lot of AI features within the operating system, but they're very it's very optional. There's nothing in your face. So unlike Clippy might have said in the past, oh, it looks like you're writing a letter. Would you like me to
Right.
help with that?
Yes.
Or which possibly could be even worse nowadays. Oh, it looks like you're writing an email. Shall I reply to that email in your style? And it's like,
Uh,
no, don't do that.
yeah.
But that's the sort of thing you just do not see on Apple's implementations of AI. But you do see in OS level implementations whereby it's the tendrils of AI are everywhere.
Yeah.
So you end up with the situation on Windows whereby you can't really escape Copilot very easily unless you really know what you're doing to try to uh, remove it with some strange DISM commands and so on at the terminal. Good luck with that, by the way, because it's likely to come back.
It
um,
does. It does.
uh, uh,
Even
but
if during installation you say, I don't want to turn on
even
Copilot,
when you say you don't want it, yeah, you still get it.
magically it's there again. I know. It's horrible.
but that's one of the advantages of using so say for instance I have a Windows machine that I use for work and various other bits and pieces, although I don't do my important work on it. I would only do my important stuff on a Mac.
Of
But
course. Yeah.
oh, of
Yeah.
course. But because Copilot is intertwined within Windows, it's a very different experience. And when I run the same Copilot app on the Mac from the App Store, the built-in protections and so on, it runs in a sandbox. It can't leak out and try to gather info from where it shouldn't be looking. It's a nice environment which is more privacy focused, and also the Mac has by default a very advanced permission structure, which is one of the things that can annoy Mac users. Actually, say, "Oh, all these permissions I've got to grant," but it's actually a benefit, really, so that when you do give Copilot a specific ability to look at something or say interact with another application, it can only do that one thing. Whereas on Windows, since it's everywhere, it's baked in at system level. So there are no really fine-grained permissions. So using the same thing on the Mac is a nicer experience using Copilot on a Mac than it is using it on Windows, which is its intended platform. And it's similar with Gemini as well. So, but we'll see later on what happens when Apple adopt some Gemini
Mm.
technologies
Yeah.
to then further improve Siri. And I expect I'll be doing some very interesting stuff in the future with Siri in a similar way that I currently use Copilot.
I think my big takeaway from what you just said is you actually installed Copilot on your Mac?
I actually installed Copilot on my Mac.
Really?
Yes, I did. I did.
Wow. Yeah, I
I
can't
like
think of
it.
anything
It's
I'd
really
rather
good.
do less other than install Gemini.
Oh, well, there's that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends which one will tell you to put glue on your pizza or eat rocks. Yeah, don't do either of those two,
Well,
kids. It's not a good idea.
as you pointed out, rightly so, of course, is that we have the option and the choice on the Mac to turn off Apple Intelligence. So,
Yes.
in a scenario where your desire is to avoid it, the Mac platform, and then secondarily the Linux platform, but the Mac platform is the best one to work on. And I'm
Yeah.
thankful. I'm thankful that Apple continues to give us a way to do that, even if they make other decisions for us that I don't agree with. But that they still
But one of
allow
the
us
other
to do that.
benefits of that, sorry, one of the other benefits of that, though, that approach, is that Apple can pick and choose and integrate several um, different AI vendors, shall we say, and amalgamate them together.
Hmm.
Whereas other platforms tend to just choose one. So with Google's platform, you have one choice, Gemini for everything, and
Right.
it's difficult to integrate all the other potential platforms you may want to use. You may want to use Claude for coding, for instance, but then that ends up being a separate entity. Whereas on the Mac, it can integrate several vendors' AIs together. And I think that's a really, really good approach that nobody else is doing.
You're talking about Apple Intelligence and not the future Siri.
Yes.
Right. So, and then that is Apple actively integrating other third-party large language models into Apple Intelligence? Are they doing that right now?
To a certain extent, yeah. I mean, for instance, when you allow ChatGPT to enhance Siri currently, it's using that part of I've forgotten the name of the company that runs it now. Yes, but that company's AI. But then when you run VS Code, you can enable Copilot to work within VS Code, and you're using that AI as well. And with say, for instance, Apple's own developer tools, you can enable Claude integration and functionality with that. So you're ending up using several of the available AIs together on one platform. Whereas on other systems, you tend to be always shown towards that one AI that platform supports, and Apple supports all of them. And will be currently not all of them, but they will be able to support a lot of options for using simultaneous AIs from different vendors.
Yeah, and that I think will finally bring the flexibility to Siri and to other components of the Apple or of the Mac OS operating system and the iOS operating system that we've been looking for.
Well, it depends what you define an AI as. I mean,
okay,
a lot of people do only think an AI is the chatbot component, but that's just one part of making use of AI in an operating system. So the fact that Apple doesn't have a front and center chatbot AI instance looks to the most users as if Apple are falling behind, when technically they're not really. But what they're doing is a bit more hidden behind the scenes. And sometimes it's a bit too hidden. So people think, oh no, there's no Apple Intelligence stuff here, just because they haven't got a chatbot front and center yet. But I don't think that's a disadvantage.
that kind of brings up a question. You're a rather active, I don't want to say heavy user, but an active user of Apple Intelligence on your Macs. Have you tried your Mac with it on and it off to see what you're really losing by not turning on Apple Intelligence?
That is an extremely good question, and I have not done that. So when it was first announced, some of the Apple Intelligence features, my first response was, okay, let's embrace this and see what good things there are to adopt. So I've not got into the position where I've tried to turn it off to see what the difference is. So for me, it's always been on. I've just left it on because I was keen to adopt some new stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting because as you talk about the ability to turn on or off various components and what those components do for you, that does bring me to the topic of web browsers, because one of the browsers that is the most generous in terms of giving you the ability to either embrace or completely cut off artificial intelligence features completely is Mozilla Firefox, the one that is my daily browser. And for a while there, they were letting AI features creep in to the browser a little bit at a time, here and there, mostly in search. But because it's a community-focused app, they heard about it, and the community rebelled. And while
How dare they not want
initially
our
they didn't want it. They didn't want it. And while initially much of it could be disabled, kind of, Mozilla now, with the latest release, actually gives you a way to turn it all off for good. And some of the controls include blocking AI enhancements entirely. So you can just turn it all off. I don't want any of it. It's a simple toggle right in the settings. You can block translations, automatic translations of websites, which I always felt that, I almost said Mozilla's, but Firefox's translation feature was leaps and bounds most of the other browsers I've tested in terms of doing this sort of thing. It presents a nice little icon in the address bar. You click that icon, it says, oh, this looks like the site you're visiting maybe is in German. Would you like me to translate it to English? And yep, I'd like you to translate it. And boom, it would be off to the races. Well, now that is, and it probably was always to a certain extent AI driven, but now it's part of the AI components of Firefox and gives you the opportunity to turn it on or off. So I might say block AI enhancements entirely, but turn on translations. And they give you the ability to do that. You don't have to turn on AI enhancements and then fiddle around with all the other switches. You can turn off all AI enhancements and turn on only translations, which I think is nice.
I think there's something to be said about the web browser approach as well that scares a bit some people more than other apps, because when you have AI turned on in a web browser, it's got to have permission to see everything you're browsing, which can freak people out a little bit, which is one of the reasons why they don't want, or they would prefer to turn off AI in a browser, because it's got to have that permission to sort of see everything you're doing on a page in order to present its AI functions. But I think they're forgetting that they also have to give the same permissions to an ad blocker, and people don't seem to mind
that.
giving those permissions to an ad blocker, but they do mind giving those same permissions to an AI. But in effect, it's one and the same thing. Although that data, it has potential to go somewhere else, whereas with an ad blocker, I suppose it can also go back to the ad blocker company to update their pages of what to block. So in a way, that data does leave your browsing session and go somewhere else in both instances, but you still got to give permission for these things to help you, or else it can't help you.
Well, that's very true. That is very true, and it's true for just about any cloud-based service out there. Now, the only comment I have to make about that is that if you do enable things like translations, or some of the other features that you can enable or disable are image alt text in the Firefox PDF viewer. Now, that would be incredibly handy to have that on. Tab group suggestions, which I really dislike with a white-hot passion, and then key points in link previews. I also don't need that. I don't need you, Firefox, to summarize for me what is going to happen if I click through to that site. I will make that determination on my own once I visit the site, but don't pre-summarize it for me to perhaps dissuade me from actually visiting the site, because that summarization doesn't tell me the information I think I might get. Now, with all that said, Firefox uses on-device AI. So what you are doing when it comes to interacting with the AI features of Firefox is not sent to the cloud. It's all processed locally on your computer. So things like translations and that image alt text, those are small AI models that are downloaded to your device if you opt to turn them on. So in that regard, that's an excellent way to approach it. And of course, it helps protect your privacy, which is the key point that you made. If you're in, I don't know, let's say Chrome, and you use all these Gemini-driven features.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. Your data's going everywhere.
Good luck protecting your privacy. It's all being sent out to Google servers for processing and coming back. They're not going to load local AI models in your computer to do this. They want it all done on their servers. So,
well, that's Google's business model to process everything in
totally.
the cloud.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
And that's understandable. It's just people need to know what they're getting into. And so it's like, oh, when we use this software or these services, this is how it works.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not know how they process things, and sometimes how they get like a small piece of software to do miraculous things. It's because it's not that small piece of software that's doing the work. It's sending it off to their servers. It does the work over there and sends the result back.
Yes, exactly. And then all along the lines with what you said earlier about given a choice, that Apple tends to pull from multiple large language models when determining the results that they should give you. The sidebar, the AI chatbot sidebar in Firefox can be driven by your choice of model. So you can choose from Claude, you can choose from ChatGPT, you can choose from Copilot, Gemini, and what's the other one? Le Chat Mistral. I'm probably pronouncing that
Mistral,
wrong.
Yes, indeed, yes.
I don't know that one.
That's the French one. That's the Mistral cat.
But you can choose. So if you opt to enable the chatbot in your sidebar of Firefox, if you opt to enable it, you can then choose which chatbot you want to use. So that's nice too. And in this case, I suppose it would be very much like, and I don't know this. I'm going to be speaking out of turn here because I don't know this for a fact, but if you enable the AI chat bar in the sidebar of, if you enable the AI chat in the sidebar of Firefox and turn on, say, ChatGPT, unless you sign into it, that would effectively be an anonymous chat. Now, you may not be able to go back and explore your history or previous conversations or what have you, but
that's fine. Exactly. Some people would like that approach, and that's a similar approach to how Siri integrates with ChatGPT. If you allow it to sign in through settings, then it will remember your conversation history as a named user. Whereas if you don't sign in, of course, every request you make of it is as if it's a new conversation, and it's not trackable to a particular user because it's just randomly generating a user, which is good. It's good for privacy.
Which is good. So far, if you're on a quest to reduce the use of AI or the presence of AI in your life, two things you can do.
Then just don't sign into things.
Don't sign into things. Okay, that's a third thing. But one thing would be to pay attention to how your operating system handles it. And indeed, in the case of Mac OS and Apple Intelligence, it's handled in a very user-forward way versus the corporate, let's make money off this person way.
Yes.
So, pay attention to the operating system. If that type of thing is important to you, use a Mac. Sorry, use a Mac or Linux, which again, Linux is not an AI-driven operating system. I'm sure it can be installed. I'm sure you can do similar things to what you do with Apple Intelligence and chatbots and all kinds of stuff.
Very similar to the way Apple does it. You install things like that in an instance. A lot of people on Linux, when they're dealing with AIs, especially local AIs, is they'll set up a Docker instance and do it through there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you could isolate it within a Docker instance.
And you can do that with Windows, but then you're defeating the object anyway because you've already got Copilot there whether you want it or not.
It's already there.
So it doesn't matter how you...
Yeah, I like the way you said that. It's there whether you want it or not. The browser that you use does make a difference. There are browsers like Chrome and Edge where it's in the company's best interest to build the AI into their browser and make sure it's in front of you every opportunity they get. It's in their interest to do that. It's especially, as you pointed out, in Google's interest to do that. So switch to a browser, and I'm not saying Firefox is the only one to choose from, but it's a good one to choose from because they actually give you the tools to make the decision that you, the user, can decide whether you want to use all of it, none of it, or some of it, which I think is great. The third thing, of course, is something that we talked about briefly last episode, and that is the search engine that you decide to use. I had mentioned I had recently switched to using DuckDuckGo, and I explained the reason for it. It wasn't because of AI, if I'm being honest. It was because I was getting annoyed with Google search and private browsing, which I use fairly frequently, and their insistence that I declare myself a human every time I wanted to do private browsing.
How ironic. Yes, I am a human.
So anyway, I switched to DuckDuckGo because DuckDuckGo is like, yeah, we're all about privacy anyway. You use private browsing all you want. We don't care. Well, DuckDuckGo is also one of the companies that gives the granular control that we're talking about to the user. And I looked up, before we started recording, the search settings in terms of AI features in DuckDuckGo, and you have the ability to turn on or off Duck.ai. I love this.
That's easy for you to say.
Duck.ai.
Yes,
Duck.ai, by the way, lets you have anonymous conversations with third-party AI chat models, including many of the ones that Firefox offers, which is OpenAI, Claude, and others. So turning this setting off, and I'm quoting DuckDuckGo here, turning this setting off will hide Duck.ai buttons and links on DuckDuckGo search. However, you can still access Duck.ai if you go directly to Duck.ai, the website, right? So if you want to use the features, you can go there. Otherwise, within your search results, and I'm not talking about using DuckDuckGo, the browser. That's another issue. This is just if you're using DuckDuckGo as your search engine, you can turn it off. Turn it off, and you'll never see it. You can also turn on or off, or interestingly, enable it sometimes, something that they call Search Assist. And Search Assist is interesting because it, like the chats in the sidebar, anonymously generates answers for your search queries. And you might see them appear at the top. And it gives you a little summarization. And you can say, yeah, I'd like to know more. And if you click that you would like to know more, you start to see it fill in, much like you'd see ChatGPT or Claude fill in an answer. You know it's coming from an AI model as it's filling in. It's thinking and writing as it's generating the answer.
That's effectively what Google search does by default.
Yeah. But here you have
everyone
the
gets it
option
in their face, though. This is optional. Yes.
You say, I don't want it. And they're like, fine, you don't get it. Which is great. And then something that I like, and I believe Google Image Search does this as well, but I'm not 100% positive. You can enable or disable AI-generated images in an image search. So the actual setting, setting is hide AI-generated images on or off. So that's it. So that's all the AI-related search settings with DuckDuckGo.
They must be being centrally tagged then in some way, or else they wouldn't be able to be filtered as easily you'd expect. This is one of the things I would really like to see on YouTube. For AI-generated videos to be tagged as AI-generated, so we could potentially do the same sort of thing and like filter them out into different feeds and that sort of thing. But I don't think Google are entirely enamored of the idea of you being able to filter out all the AI slop videos. They want you to watch them.
they want you to watch them. I think they are starting to tag them, though. I believe they're.
It would be good if that happens. Currently, it's difficult because sometimes, well, often you can't tell. And when you're in a position where you can't tell what is real and what isn't real, then we start to get a bit of a major problem with potential misinformation and all sorts of things going on.
Yeah, yeah,
When you
absolutely.
can't tell reality from fiction, then the game's over. Well, we're in trouble then.
Yeah, if you can't tell reality from fiction, it's either AI generated slop or you have to up your meds. It's one of the two,
Or both.
or both. That's a joke, of course.
Indeed.
So that's a third thing you can do is to change your search engine. Don't
Yes.
rely on Google. And this goes back to what I said
Yeah.
earlier is we need to, if your goal is to minimize the use or the insistence of use of AI in your life, then it's more about shedding old habits and old services and old applications in order to work with applications and services that operate the way you expect them to. So
Yeah. It's
DuckDuckGo,
really customizing the level of how much AI you want to embrace.
yeah. So the short answer to that is it's okay to not use Google. It's
Yeah.
okay to not use Windows. I mean, look, we're a Mac show.
Just
It's okay
to randomly choose an operating system, no bias at
to
all.
randomly choose one. It's okay not to use Windows. It's okay not to use Google. It's okay not to use
Yes.
some of these services that have become so ingrained in our lives that we feel like that's what we have to turn to, but you don't. There are alternatives. And I think that is probably the core of the message. Now, the rest of what I shared with Lisa is more from the perspective of a Mac user who might have Apple Intelligence turned on. Now, granted, you can turn it off. You don't have to have it on. Apple still gives us a choice. So just keep all that in mind. But things like the summarization of emails, I'm not a fan
Yeah.
of that. I don't like Apple Intelligence telling me what the message is about. I'd rather actually read the message. And there's more on this in just a minute. There's more on this in just a minute. But someone took the time to compose and craft a message for me to read, and I'm going to read it as it's intended, not as I'm told to read it. And again, more on this in just a minute when we get to the next section. But look, let's say you have Apple Intelligence on, but you're not a fan of the integration with Apple Mail, as an example. Again, there are alternatives. You don't have to use Apple Mail.
Yeah. Or you can
Mozilla's
turn the
companion package.
summarization feature off for Mail and still use Mail and still use other Apple Intelligence technologies without the summarization.
Absolutely. That would be option one. Just turn off the features. Turn off the features you don't want to use. That's a great way to handle
Yeah.
it. But do know that there are alternatives. You could use Mozilla Thunderbird. You could use
Yeah.
any of the myriad other mail clients that are out there. Or depending on the service that you use, you could just go to the web. But
Yeah. Webmail. You could use that.
there you don't have as much control as you have with a mail client. So if you're going to use a mail client
Right.
and you're not happy with how Apple Mail works, or you're not happy with the integrations, and maybe it's an integration you can't turn off, just know there are alternatives. Same goes with the Office suite. iWork, Pages, Numbers, Keynote. The latest versions have a lot more Apple Intelligence integration than the previous versions did. If you don't like that integration, there are alternatives. And one of the biggest, not the only choice, is LibreOffice, which we talk about all the time. It's a fantastic Microsoft and iWork compatible Office suite. And it's free to download. And then we mentioned other alternatives. There's plenty of open source applications, and I think that's probably the thing the trend that folks may notice as I mention alternatives is that, with the exception of Apple and with the exception of Mac OS, about everything else I've mentioned so far is open source and community driven, and it's not corporate driven. I think there's
Yeah.
a reason we're not seeing as much AI in these products as perhaps we're seeing in others, because the money doesn't necessarily flow the same way when it comes to open source projects as it does to commercial projects.
Yes. Often the money doesn't flow at all to open source
Often the
projects.
money doesn't
Sometimes,
flow at all. Now there are,
often people do it for free, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. What other suggestion might you have for someone who wants to actively avoid AI in their life?
Well, sometimes you don't need to switch to another product, although, as you say, many other products are available, and you can switch to something that suits you better. Sometimes it's just a case that you just don't want to see it or don't want to be reminded of it, and often, especially in the case of Apple's Office suite, for instance, you can just hide the bits you don't like. So you just remove all those AI buttons that you don't plan to use anyway, and they won't offend your eyes the next time you launch the apps. So
In the toolbar, you mean?
effectively,
Yeah.
yeah. So effectively, it's all still there. But if you hide it away and you don't realize it is still there, you think you can customize it to the way you want it to look and feel.
Yep.
So you don't necessarily have to actively try to actually remove those functions. It's only, for instance, I mean, in Mail, you would want to do that if you didn't like the summarization feature, because it's active if it's turned on. So you would have to actively go into settings and turn that feature off, but it is individually able to be turned off. So you can carry on using Apple Mail without the summarize feature, or you can potentially embrace it a bit more and grow to love it. You never know.
Or you do. But I think that's an excellent point, is rather than necessarily seeking out alternatives as Mac users on a platform where the company behind that platform is very well aware that users should have a choice, look for those choices first before looking for the alternatives. That's good advice.
Yes. Yeah, so if you're very used to, say, for instance, you're very used to Pages, but the new version presents you with AI features you never use and you just don't want to be assailed with, then just hide those features away, and you can carry on using Pages, the application you're used to, and all is well with the world.
You know, in truth, just a little sidebar here, I've noticed virtually zero difference between the new version of Pages, Numbers, and Keynote and the old versions.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how they've done it, and it's all quite subtle. They've not blasted it in your face, and you don't end up with like a new Clippy asking you if it wants to create these documents for you that you already want to create. It's like, no, don't read my mind. Go away. Let me do it myself.
You know, an AI-driven Clippy would be the thing of nightmares. That would...
I think that'd be quite fun. I'd like to enable that on some Windows machines, actually. I'd like to do that.
I would love that.
That'd be fantastic.
I used the cat. I can't remember the cat's name, but I used the cat. The cat was a good one.
The cat was a nice option.
Yeah.
There was the dog, and there was Einstein, of course. Who could forget Einstein?
I didn't like Einstein. The dog was Rover. What was the cat's name? But the thing about Clippy that I really didn't enjoy was the dink, dink, dink as it tapped on the screen. On the screen.
Absolutely.
With
so annoying.
End of its little metal appendage. Yeah. The cat would just purr.
I quite liked it in a way because it was whimsy, and some of the things I liked about macOS was that it was whimsical in places. And I think Apple's not been as whimsical as they could be, and I think it would be nice if they brings a little bit of whimsy back. Would be quite nice, but not going as far as tapping your screen from the inside like with a paperclip. So I draw the line at that.
I would love to see some more whimsy come back again. I agree with you on that. Speaking of whimsy, let's talk about the loss of human authenticity.
Ooh,
So
ooh, that's a biggie.
I told you in the next segment we were going to talk about this a little bit. I got an email newsletter the other day from Liz Wilcox. I'll link to her in the show notes. She's fantastic. She's an email marketing expert. Absolutely
Excellent.
knows her stuff. She knows how to reach people. She knows how to engage people. And I loved this email. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but she is fired up over the misuse and overuse of AI in marketing. And she
Mm,
wrote, okay, she literally wrote, I am fired up this morning. She says, I am looking at my inbox and it's all the same. The sleek but somehow empty emails. Fine, fine, she says. AI is fine. Okay, revolutionary, groundbreaking. And then she quotes, if you're not using it, you're going to be left behind. Then she continues, but for Pete's sake, I am going to say the thing we are all thinking. It's too freaking much. It's too much to scroll Instagram and hear that monotone man's voice telling me the 5 things I should know about ancient Greece. To know I'm talking to a chatbot and the chance of me getting to a human is getting slimmer and slimmer as the months go on. And, she says,
yeah.
it's too damn much to open my inbox to my fave creator's email. And this is important to me too. And it sounds like him, but it's not him, you know?
Mm.
Freakadeek, she says. Who the heck is with me? Well, I'm with her for sure. She says,
Same here.
she concludes, I'm done pretending AI copywriting is fine to use with your email marketing. Keep in mind, she's an email marketing expert. But she
Mm.
says, I'm done pretending AI copywriting is fine to use with your email marketing. It's just not. And it's showing because everyone and their mother's metrics are going down. No one wants to read your AI slop. And you know what?
Yes.
And I said this a moment ago, I 100% agree with Liz. To me, relying upon AI for marketing is just lazy. It's lazy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that's the word I would pick. Yeah.
it's one thing to, as we talked about in January, it's one thing to augment your work or to get new ideas by treating these tools as sounding boards that you might not otherwise have at the ready.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you don't have someone to throw an idea off of, so you turn to a chatbot and say, well, you know, how can I word this better? That's one thing. But when
Yeah.
someone asks you for information about your business or your product or your service or
That's right.
whatever it is that you're hoping to sell them, spewing back a litany of lazy AI responses kind of tells me that either, one, you're overworked and you don't have the help that you need. And that's probably the
Yes.
case in most instances. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
forgiving those who do this because I know how overworked many people are in their jobs. Okay? So just know I understand that. But the alternative, the worst alternative, is that you just don't care.
Yeah. Well, you end up not believing though. If it's not, if it's obvious it's not come from a person, you end up not believing, not believing in that company, and also
Yeah,
not believing the words
yeah,
because they were just plucked out of the air from other millions of other conversations. They're not coming from a real person. And I think nowadays what people want in almost every situation is authenticity.
yep,
And when you come across, say, for instance, on YouTube, when you come across obvious, authentic videos, that's an instant subscribe.
mm,
If you're interested in that, okay, and you know it's authentic.
yeah,
When you come across AI slop videos that are on the same subject and they're just generated, and you only realize halfway through that you've been listening to a robot, um, you that's an instant thumbs down and definitely not a subscribe. So I'm not surprised to hear that generated content is losing favor.
it's losing favor, and it's literally losing money for the people who are using it
Yeah, so
because
don't do it.
they're losing the eyeballs people aren't reading what they're writing because they know that it wasn't written by a person. There's
Yeah.
nobody
There's
behind it.
no authenticity there.
There's no life behind it. Now, that was a fantastic segue, Darren, because I wanted to mention that this very thing happened to me just this last week. I asked a client, for some quick selling points for their business that I could use on their website. You know, if you're generating a website for someone, the people who know their business the best are those who own and run that business.
Yeah.
I could make up stuff. I could turn to ChatGPT and just completely pull stuff out of the ethosphere. But I thought, I'll turn to the client. I'll ask them about their business, right?
How novel.
Now, they're a small business. They have a small team.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I understand small businesses, small teams can be overworked. They do great work. And you know what? They should know their product. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I got the responses, I knew immediately that
it's generated.
they plopped my question into ChatGPT and copied the responses.
And that's awful.
How did I know?
How
did
can
I
they
know?
not just
Do you know how I
describe their
knew?
own product though? Well, sometimes it's like the overuse of emojis and things like that, and the different ways that the AI tends to format things. Sometimes you can see it a mile away.
You would think, right? No. The reason I knew was because they didn't even bother taking out the headings that ChatGPT gives you.
They left the heading in.
ChatGPT breaks things down. Here's this type. Here's this type. Here's this type of response.
Here's this. Terrible.
Well, they didn't even take out the headings that describe the different methodologies that were used to generate each example. Now, were the examples bad? Right? Were the examples bad? That's the question. No, they weren't bad.
Probably usable, but it's still the same issue, isn't it? Like, if you don't know what you're selling or what your product is, then what on earth are you doing?
What are you doing? So
if you can't describe it.
I'm actually, I accepted and said, thank you very much for the response, even though I knew it was completely generated by AI. I said, thanks for sending this to me. But I know that I'm going to need to combine and rewrite them into something that sounds more human. And I could have just done that in the first place. So that goes back to Liz's comments that it's all just too freaking much.
Yeah. You can use of AI isn't bad, but the overuse of it certainly is.
Yeah, it's all too much, and everyone starts to sound the same. It is, as you said, it's AI slop, and it's sloppy. It's just it's lazy. Now, that brings up Eric's comments. Just before we started recording, Eric texted us. He couldn't join us today, but he had his own 2 cents about this. And this actually ties in really well with what I just said. Eric wrote, I can usually tell someone used AI in correspondence when they use a dash or M dash. Now, I use M dashes all the time. It is a legitimate piece of punctuation to use within writing. And I've been using M dashes forever, long before the known existence of AI chatbots that we could ask to write stuff for us. I've been using M dashes. I continue to use M dashes. I'm sorry, Eric, but I do. Anyway, he continues. Would you like to play a game?
Global thermonuclear war,
yes.
I think, would be good.
Open the pod bay doors, hell. People rarely use a hyphen in text. Eric writes, people rarely use a hyphen in texts and emails, but they never use an N dash or an M dash. No, that's true. I don't use an N dash, but I do use M dashes all the time. And I spoke to someone else who also has a degree in English, as I do, and they also use M dashes all the time. So, sorry, I do. So if you get an email from me,
I'm not a robot.
and it has an M dash in it, it's actually me writing. Now, I will also mention that along those lines, when I send out the Macstock newsletter, and I did promise in the New Year's resolutions, I said we'd start up a For Mac Guys Only newsletter again soon, and I haven't done that yet. But when I send out the Macstock newsletter, I always put a little tongue-in-cheek comment in the bottom about whether it was generated by AI or not. And
100% human.
in the last one, kind of, you're almost there. In the last one, I used something that I recently saw, and I said this was created with the use of OI, organic intelligence.
Organic intelligence. Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of my take. So that's Eric's take on it. He looks for cues like dashes or M dashes. That's not always a good indicator, but certainly leaving the titles of the descriptors, here's a version of it written in this style. Here's a version of it written in this style.
Yes.
Leaving all that in is certainly an indicator that you just plopped it into AI, or in this case, ChatGPT, and copied and pasted the results. Yeah. So.
Oh, and if you're doing your homework and passing that to the teacher, don't include the whole chat session. Just be selective, or potentially just take note of what it tells you and rewrite it yourself in your own words, at least.
At least, and if Eric is your teacher, don't use M dashes. Do not use M dashes.
Well, the problem I worry about is the fact that you can we can currently mostly tell there are little signs, but I wonder how long it will be until we can't tell whether something has been gone through a human mind or not.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets really tricky.
Right.
This is why I'd like things to be tagged so that we know what is generated and what isn't.
Right now, there are a series of commercials running on, well, I was going to say on television, but on streaming, or YouTube. No, mostly on television. And as I'm watching the commercial, and this is for major corporations, as I'm watching the commercial, I'm like, this was completely AI generated. There's something, to use the term uncanny valley, there's something uncanny valley about what they're doing. And while the people look like people and they kind of move like people, and it's good enough for most folks who are watching it to say, oh yeah, that's a person. That's a person who's signing up for insurance or doing whatever. You look at it and you're like, I don't think that's right.
Did they really pay an actor to do that? Probably not.
And they didn't, and
they didn't.
It's interesting because many of the commercials I've seen like that don't give any indication that it was generated by artificial intelligence, but I did see one the other week where in tiny mouse print at the bottom, it said images in use within this commercial were generated by artificial intelligence, which
Good.
I have to give them credit.
Applaud that. Well done, yes.
Yeah, well done for saying that. But there will be, you're right, there will be a point where we look at that and I'm like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's already difficult because we're second guessing ourselves for some things. We'll watch something and we'll think, is that real? I'm not sure. Did those rabbits all jump on that trampoline at the same time? Did that actually happen?
Well, there's clearly something behind that story, and we'll have to talk about that later. All right, last topic. All right, so we talked about, so far, we've talked about, what have we talked about? We talked about, unwanted AI integration.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the loss of human authenticity. But let's talk about one final topic here, and that is, where does AI work?
Well, yes.
Any thoughts on that, or should I have a couple ideas, and so this is just a couple bullet points, and maybe this will become a discussion.
Okay.
But the first one that comes to mind, and this is probably a little obvious, but the first one that comes to mind is AI-driven face and body tracking that's been built into cameras in recent years. I love
Oh
that
yes,
feature.
yeah,
The most amazing part of it is when they can track the movement of a person who's moving behind other objects. And this
mm,
is one of the latest, it's like a persistence, that they build into it so that it's tracking the person
yeah.
moving across the
So,
scene, but then they
and as
move.
they disappear behind someone else, that it figures out that they will reappear at this location, and then the tracking locks on again.
Yep,
Yeah, that
exactly.
is exactly right. Exactly right. That's although that's more of a an enhancement to the tracking that was in place beforehand, which used to not be called AI. Um, in a way, some of the things that people now call AI are actually just historically machine learning algorithms, and what we're doing there is just the company is increasing its stock price by just saying, "Oh yes, we adopt AI
It's
now,"
now
but it's just
AI.
the machine
Yeah,
learning algorithms that they used to use anyway.
yeah,
But yeah, you're right, because that's in addition to those sort of machine learning algorithms that can track your face,
hmm
because tracking the movement of one of those items behind someone else and where it's likely to reappear, that is an AI feature, and that is, as you say, something that is entirely useful in making sure your photographs are in focus and not an entirely blurry mess.
right. Which for some reason I've been having trouble getting nice, clear, crisp photos recently with my camera, but that's a me issue, not an AI issue. Well, along those
Yeah,
lines, speaking of technology that's been around for a while but has been more enhanced recently. In fact, Apple's making a big splash about it. Google's making a big splash about it themselves. Is image editing, and in particular, either recropping and rescaling images and keeping the subject in the center, in the focus of that image, or more
yeah.
commonly, removing unwanted images in photos and replacing those objects with what should be there
What should be
versus
behind the subject, exactly. Yeah,
what was there, right?
it's amazing when it works. Yeah, it's like it shouldn't actually work.
Yeah. And
When you see the results, you think, how this shouldn't actually be possible. You shouldn't be able to just mark a subject that you want removed, and then have the image analyzed for the surrounding area and for it to figure out what should be behind that subject,
yeah,
and redraw it and repaint it in. And the results are often quite staggeringly good.
yeah, interpolation.
Yeah, I've also had some great success with upscaling images.
Mm,
So doing a two times or a three times upscale on an image, but not only a photograph, which you can imagine works in a particular way, but when you have two-dimensional art and you get that that automatically detected as that type of artwork, so that when it is upscaled, it doesn't like double up the patterns of like a half tone. It's sort of like does it sensitively when you're upscaling particular types of artwork. And I thought that was particularly impressive when I did that in Pixelmator. I think the previous version of Pixelmator I used to do image upscaling of artwork, and got some particularly stunning results.
yeah,
It was
Pixelmator
as if,
is good at that.
yeah, I mean, I scanned the images to quite a high resolution that I was working on, but I decided, okay, I want four times this resolution. It's almost as if I'd bought the world's most professional scanner to scan the images in again. And the output of that was just so good. It was like I scanned them in again with a scanner that cost four times as much. So I was very pleased.
And admittedly, I've had mixed results with all of these tools. And as time has gone on, the tools have improved and the results have gotten better. Where in the past, maybe we would remove an object from a photo and you'd have kind of a little blurry smudge, or you could
Yes.
see that what it's doing is just taking the pixels nearby and, doing a good old cloning function, to plop them in
Coding
place.
stamp,
But
but yeah, yeah,
but it's
you
gotten
used
much
to be able
better.
to tell that those stamp shapes, you could tell that they were similar to each other, and they were just stamped on and sort of just to cover the area. But no, it's a lot more subtle. including like perspectives. So I did one where people were stood against some sand and against a wall,
Mm.
and the bricks of the wall were filled in perspective for that wall, and the sand
And that's tough.
went
That's tough to
from the
do.
front to the back. Exactly, yeah. So really good result with just one click. I was very impressed with that. I mean, you could clear it up even more, but you'd have to delve in and pixel peep to see the potential areas of whereby someone might have been removed. So that's getting better and better all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's another area where AI enhanced tools are augmenting the work that we used to do by hand, often reducing what would have taken hours down to minutes. What about, now we talked about writing and how using AI tools to generate content can result in a lot of similar sounding slop. But what about using AI enhanced tools to do things like distilling long articles down to their essence? Do you do anything like that?
That can be
We
good.
talked about email summarization too, which is effectively the same thing. But
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes you're presented with a long dissertation or something like that. Yeah, I don't want to read all this. I don't want to read
yeah.
30 pages of this thing. Just give me the 5 key points, you know.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I do have a friend that sends me alarmingly large emails.
Oh, that would be me.
Um,
Yeah.
no, no, that's not. No, it's not. They're about 3 times the length of your emails, actually. You know? So
Yikes.
yeah, yikes indeed. So I like the summarization feature on Apple Mail because in two sentences I can see the general gist and whether I want to read it then and there or leave it till later to read. So that's really the only. I don't rely on the summarized text for the entire thing. I do like to read what he wrote to me, but just deciding whether I can read it there and then or whether I can leave it for a while before I delve into this really long email, and the summarization is really good for that.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, we've actually been in discussion about AI, and one of the points he was making was, and I'm actually reading it from the message at the moment. The summarization says Meta and others reportedly were laying off thousands of people. So and reportedly saying that their functions are being moved towards being completed by AI. Or say, for instance, not just entirely taken over, but say, for instance, you have a team of 10 people that might turn into a team of 3 people with 7 AIs, for instance, rather than all of them being replaced. There's the angle of as AI gets better, like managers being effectively thinking that you can replace a human easily when they're starting to find out that's not quite so easy.
And I actually have a couple thoughts on that. This is an entirely separate conversation, and I don't think either of us are discounting the idea that AI is going to take jobs away from people. That is very much a reality. It is happening. It's going to continue to happen. It shouldn't. But one of the areas within which it is happening is something I do have some mixed feelings about. And this still falls under the topic of where does AI work? And I know this is going to mean something to you too, but troubleshooting. How do you feel about this? Now, many of the
Yeah.
responses that I get if I put in a simple query about a problem someone is having with Windows or what have you, many of those answers are based on, whether correctly or incorrectly, the rants and ramblings of humans in forums. So
That's right.
are the answers that are uncovered and condensed and presented to us through the use of AI within our search engines accurate? Are they trusted? Can we rely upon the answer to not melt our devices into that aforementioned puddle of goo? What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on using, when you hear a client say, "Oh, well, I put this question into Google and it told me to do this and this and this," and immediately you're thinking,
Oh,
"Well,
yes.
why on earth would you do any of that stuff? None of that is accurate at all to solve this problem." But
Yeah.
because Google's Gemini told them this is what they should do, they did it.
Yeah.
What are you running into?
Well, this is where humans have a bit of an advantage, because we have an advantage in experience. So although, I mean, uh, the AI might actually be even getting some of its answers from stuff I might have wrote myself 15, 20 years ago or something. And
True. That's true. Yeah.
the combination of what we've all been involved with over the last 35 odd years doing this professionally in IT, our own witterings and so on might be part of what's been ingested and the AI is now currently using to give advice, which is great. But the AI doesn't have the experience of effectively performing those tasks. So it doesn't know the results of, so it hasn't got the experience over time of what happens when you perform these tasks and what the results are. So that's what it's missing. So it can take really good ideas from the amalgamation of lots of what we've all been chatting about, all us IT guys have been chatting about for the last 30 years, and come together with some good responses perhaps, but it doesn't have any of the experience side of it, because it's almost as if it's thought of that one thing there and then, whereas with us, we've got 35 years of experience of actually trying these things, so we know what the responses might be if we implement them. And that's the bit that AI is missing.
That's exactly what it's missing. It's totally missing the nuance. It's totally missing the experience. I love that you said missing the experience, because there are things that we do and responses that we give that are seemingly off the wall to the person we're giving the answer to. And they're like,
Yeah. Have you turned it off and on again?
turned it off and on again. Sure, of course. But it's an amalgamation, as you said, of our years of experience, where we know the most likely answer is probably this thing that we're telling them, whatever it is. And turn it off and on again is not a bad way to go, especially with printer problems. Have you checked the cable? Is the cable for the printer plugged in? A lot of people still use USB cables to connect their printers. Is the power plugged in? Someone yesterday in the MacStock live stream mentioned the iMacs with the power plugs that slipped into the back that had the round connector
magnetic ones.
No, non-magnetic, the ones that you had to push into the back of the iMac.
Oh, those. Oh, I see.
And
yes, the pins.
He used to work at an Apple store in the Genius Bar, and they would have person after person come in and say that they received a Mac DOA when all that they didn't do is plug the power cord all the way in.
Yeah.
So,
or they're trying to jam it in upside down or something.
Well, there's that too. And I have seen that, especially with old USB cables and things like that. Yeah. But with all that said, it has been suggested that AI-driven responses often seem to work best when humans give the large language model a structured framework from which to derive its answers. So, for example, and I have a follow-up to this, but for example, one example I read was the law. With the law, where our pre-existing legal frameworks are generally rigid, they're fixed, they don't change that much until they do change, and then the LLMs fall behind again. But the law is a rigid framework within which AI can operate. And so I've heard and I've read that AI is often a successful tool to use in the legal industry because of that.
Mm. Yeah.
But even
But you
the
have to know how
law,
to ask the question.
there you go. Even the law is open to interpretation. And interpretation and nuance, which is what we were just talking about with troubleshooting, is something that AI has not proven itself to be good at. So, do we really want our laws and our troubleshooting by extension, but do we want our laws driven by ones and zeros, or is it better to leave that interpretation to the hearts and minds of human judges, lawyers, and juries? Right? I think that's
Oh,
something
well,
that
there's a
we're all
question.
wrestling with.
I think how you approach it is, using AI as a tool. Um, I mean, we all amplify. No, is that the word? Amplifomorphize. I can't pronounce it.
Anthropomorphize.
Oh, well
Anthropomorphize,
done.
yes.
That's the
Yeah.
one. We all pretend that AIs have human-like
Yeah, that's true.
things, and they don't. They are computer programs,
Right.
although they are basing their answers they give to us on real human conversations. So it does sound really human when we
Yeah.
have to remind ourselves that it isn't, and they don't necessarily understand what they're saying. But depending on how you approach a question, I think one of the main things you should do with AI is not ask one question and rely on that first single answer. It has to be a back and forth. So you go a bit further and you interrogate. You say, "Oh, what about this angle?" and so on. And eventually, over a back and forth conversation with an AI, you can build up something extremely useful. But that takes like 10 or so interactions before you get to something really, really good. And you
Yeah.
can tease out. So that's the thing. I mean, humans have been talking and recorded being talking for an enormous amount of time. There are hidden gems in what we've all been talking to each other about, and sometimes they're just um, extremely hidden into the lexicon of language itself. And what AI can help us do is tease out those things that we've discussed in the past, and humans have discussed together, but haven't put them all together. So an AI is perfect for that sort of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost rediscovering what we already knew but have forgotten, or is now hidden in sort of a tiny lexicon of the language of us talking together. I think AI's got a big promise of being able to find new things from all the old things we've talked about. So that could include things like new approaches to medical cures that may
Absolutely.
have been discussed in the past and
Yeah.
forgotten about, that can be teased out again from this huge corpus of language that we've fed into AI. I think it can be, or it has the potential to be, exceptionally useful for humans and robots to work together in harmony.
Well, I was going to ask another question, but that just felt like the perfect wrap up to our conversation
Wow.
about AI in our lives. Thank you, Darren. Just remember, just remember what all the AI tools tell us. AI can make mistakes. Please
Yes.
double check responses.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. One of the most important things you can ask an AI after you've asked a question is, "Are you sure?"
Mm-hmm.
Because often it will go off and
Yeah.
think it's of its own response and say, "Actually, now you say that, I've thought of something else that could be interesting," and the conversation gets even more involved and more impressive. So yes, ask an AI, "Are you sure?" And always say please and thank you, I think.
It doesn't matter how many trees that please and thank you burns down around the
Not
world.
in the long term, no.
Oh, have you taken steps to eliminate AI from your life, or have you embraced it? Be sure to leave your experiences in the comments of this week's show notes found at formaceyesonly.com. Well, you know where that brings us to next, Darren? The For Mac Eyes Only Quick Tip. And
Awesome.
I completely stumbled across this next tip by accident. But did you know that you can do math within a TextEdit document? I was helping someone figure out the cost of
Yes.
goods sold as well as suggested retail price for a product that they were making to sell on Etsy. So I popped open TextEdit and I began typing in a simple list of components for their product and the corresponding cost of those components. Then we added in the time to make the product and the cost of shipping materials and so on and so on. And of course, what cut does Etsy take from the product as it sells, all that kind of stuff. But then, after we typed all that in, then came the magic. We wanted to figure out what the profit would be. So I typed in the line, and it doesn't matter what these numbers represent, but I typed in the line 55 minus 27.70 or $27.70. I'll say that for my British friend here. Minus $2.50. And then I typed the equal key.
Yeah. And there's the
Boom!
answer.
Boom! TextEdit automatically suggested $24.80, and it even included the dollar sign. Huh.
Yeah.
So then I decided to go nuts, because I couldn't just let that rest. So I typed in a completely random equation. I typed in parentheses 55 times 6, close parentheses, plus parentheses 35 divided by 5, parentheses times 65 plus parentheses 54 minus 7, close parentheses, equals, and TextEdit dutifully suggested 819. Boom! Blew my mind. I had no idea that TextEdit would do that. But now I do, and so do you. Now, I'm going to mention that this doesn't appear limited to TextEdit. In fact, it did work in Omni Outliner just now when I tested it, getting my notes ready for the show. But it did not work in BBEdit. It did not work in Pages, Word, or LibreOffice. But we know it works in TextEdit. So the next time you are typing up a series of numbers in TextEdit that you need to add, subtract, multiply, do logarithms, absolute values, or even the square root of a number, because, yes, you can type in SQRT 819 and get 28.618. Well, the next time you need to do that, you can give TextEdit a try. So
Excellent.
That's this week's tip, doing math in TextEdit. And
Excellent.
with that said, that brings us to this episode's essential app. And I think, Darren, you said you had an essential app this episode, but
I do.
It's not a Mac app. Ooh.
Ooh, just to mix things up. I have an app on my iPhone, which I am just about to run. Let me see. It's called, let me see. I have to get rid of the ads. Excellent, excellent.
Always a good selling point for an app.
It is. Oh, okay. How do I do that? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it's called GuitarTuna, and it's spelt Tuna, and
like the fish.
Like the fish, indeed. But there are no fish involved. So what this does is it allows you to tune your guitar, but with an audible tuner. So that it's really like, so it uses the microphone on your iPhone to listen to the string you're plucking, and it will suggest how to tune your guitar to get that string in exactly the right tuning. So you can do that for all your strings and tune your guitar, and it does that audibly, and it'll shift the line as it hears the note that you're playing to say, when it reaches the middle dead on, it'll beep and say, right, that's it, you've tuned that string, and you can move on to the next string and so on. So and it automatically knows which string you are plucking. because of
Magic.
most guitars. Well, it's kind of magic. It does feel a little bit like magic. But for instance, if you pluck the A string, it knows, because it's nearly an A, that it must be the A string that you plucked, and it'll try to get you to tune that to a perfect A. So as you go through, you can do that for each string, and then you can tune your guitar really easily, but just with audio, so just by ear essentially. So that's my pick, to be able to tune your guitar automatically.
That is amazingly cool.
Semi-automatically.
Now, I did pull it up while you were talking. It's as you said, it's called GuitarTuna. That's one word. GuitarTuna. Yep. Tune and play guitar. And according to the App Store, it says it's designed for iPad, but you've also used it on the iPhone, you said?
Yes, indeed. Yes. It's more useful for me using it from my iPhone, because I can just sit it next to me and just get the guitar and just play it like that. So you can use it on the iPad or the iPhone.
Wow.
And it has some other nice features in there as well, including... Oh, here's what the display looks like. So I finally figured out what to do. So if you say there we are. It figured out what. Did you see that move over there? And it thought that was an A. So there you go. So it'll figure out what string you are playing, and tell you whether you're on track to being in tune or not.
And for what it's worth, just for a whim, I decided to click install in the App Store, and it installed just fine on my Mac.
Oh, so that's good. So the developer allows that to run on the Mac then, in that case. That's interesting.
So the developer does apparently allow that. I don't know or guarantee how well it will work on the Mac, but it will install. So that's interesting. And it is a free app. And there are several different in-app purchases, including something just called GuitarTuna Pro. And then there are various yearly and monthly subscriptions.
That's it. Yeah. There's other optional things. There's lessons in there, and there's guitar tabs that you can download and so on. That's part of the subscription. But if you just wanted to use the tuning side, you can use that entirely free.
That's amazing. What a cool app. So one of these days, we're going to have to get you on the show to do a little acoustic performance for us.
Oh, I might have to do a performance. There we go. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Why not? We'll try that one day.
Awesome. And with
Perhaps not a whole song. I'm not sure if I could cope with the whole song, but I'll give it a go.
You know what? That could be fun. We should do that one of these days. It'll be like... never mind. All right, we'll do that one of these days. And with that said, that's gonna do it for this episode of For Mac Guys Only. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Remember, I do love to get your letters, so if you have any comments about the show, a tip to share, a software or hardware problem with your Mac, be sure to leave your favorites in the comments of this week's show notes, found at formaceyersonly.com, or you can drop me a line, mike@formaceyersonly.com. And do be sure to subscribe to the show's YouTube channel at youtube.com/FMEOTV and click the little notification bell so you can find out when we are going live. You can join the chat room and catch all the behind-the-scenes stuff that doesn't make the final cut of the show. Hey, Darren, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Cool. Instruct your bots to send a message to Darren@formaceyersonly.com.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks to Darren, of course, for joining me this episode. Stay subscribed, and we'll talk to you next time. And with that said, I think we will go ahead and say goodbye to the live stream. Goodbye, live stream. Thanks to Brian for joining us in the chat room today, and we'll see you guys next time.
Great. Cheerio.
Cheerio.